All right. Hi, everyone. This is Impact Champs, the podcast where we talk about learning impact, how to maximize it, and how to do L&D effectively. My name's David. I'm the CTO / co-founder of ClearXP, more of a technical guy, but I'm sitting here with Andy, who's the learning methodology master, the person who knows everything about gamification. He's done it well, really effectively in the past, so he's going to teach us his tricks and say what works and what doesn't. Welcome, Andy.
Thank you, Dave. That is a very nice introduction, and it's also true. So let's continue. Looking forward to getting into gamification, one of my favourite topics. I have seen it used really well and have some really strong thoughts about where it can and can't be used and where it should and shouldn't be used.
All right. Now, I know gamification is a really old topic. Going back 10, 15 years, it was very popular in L&D, but people are still talking about it, still trying to find the best way to make use of it. But for those who don't know what is gamification, it's just points, right? It's chuck points on everything.
Pretty much. You just sprinkle points on top of doing a compliance module and then you expect to see results. No, there's a lot to it. I would say basically when you think about gamification, obviously you're doing the element part where you're taking the key principles of effective gaming and you're applying those to what you're delivering to your learners in various shapes and forms. So the main two areas that you're trying to replicate from the successful gaming elements are the motivations that people take from it. So it's the self-motivation that people get. So when the people see that they're able to level up or to improve in some way in a game, we know that that's something that people really thrive on. Myself, I see my kids do it, everyone does it. There's a reason why Roblox is now like one of the 5 biggest companies in the world. Mm-hmm. I saw that the other day. Okay. So self-motivation is the other thing. And the other part of it is also social motivation. So the parts of gamification and gaming where there are other people involved.
Yeah, got it. Right. So this is, to put it in really simple terms, we're basically borrowing concepts from gaming, literally like video, PC games, and we're overlaying it on learning to take advantage of that like engagement and getting people involved in the program and the learning, kind of enhance that, right?
Exactly. Well, we know how effective games are online, like when we talk about games, but not even just video games, just even board games or any type of game, where effectively there is a reward for the participant if they achieve something. The reward can be a tangible, real thing, but often it's just a reward that the learner gets through. We all know about dopamine and the effect that has on people, right? But it could just be some small little thing that someone feels that they've achieved something, being the reward. And the rewards come in many shapes and forms, but effectively in learning, if you're able to use those reward mechanisms and intertwine it with what you're trying to deliver with your learning, and if you can align the reward with your learning outcomes, then that's when you're going to be set up to do really well with gamification.
Yeah, I think that's something that I've become like extremely obvious to me is when the reward doesn't align with the learning outcome. So we've worked with some customers before where they just introduce gamification at that superficial level. We're going to give you points for posting on a social feed. We're going to give you points for clicking articles and watching videos. And then they turn around and they come back to me and they're just saying, everyone's just clicking on articles and they're just watching videos, but they're not absorbing the content and not getting better at it. And so then they're like, gamification doesn't really seem like it's working. What are they doing wrong there?
Well, they are using that gamification at a superficial level, like you said, because they're not really taking it deeper into thinking about what it is that they're trying to get the learners to actually do. And I talk about it a lot in just normal learning design in terms of user-centered design, right? So when you think about it from an empathetic perspective, from a learner's perspective, what is it that you're actually expecting them to experience, and would you want to experience that for yourself? So when you're thinking about a learner and you're thinking about a person who's doing something in their job, like the things that they do and the things that you're wanting them to do, they need to actually have a meaningful interaction with their content. So it needs to mean something to them. So if you're asking somebody to go into a knowledge library and just look at stuff, and they're going to get points for it. But in their job, why the hell would they go into a knowledge library just to do stuff? They're not going to care about that. They're not going to care about the task you're asking them to do, and they're not going to care about the points you're giving them for doing it because it doesn't mean anything to them. So it's about finding the things that are meaningful to them, and then aligning the points and the gaming to that. So the best examples I've seen are when we do simulations. But even if it's something like contributing to a social thing you mentioned before. So if you're contributing to a social thing, if you're enabling someone to be able to share their expertise in a certain field, and then others can recognise them as saying, hey, that was a great suggestion, I haven't thought of it that way, or whatever it is, that person then is sitting there looking at the fact that they've contributed well, they've got a recognition through the person responding to them, and then also the gamification metric is providing them with a badge or with some form of reward, then that means a lot more to them.
I think the key thing there is, which I don't know if you actually said it specifically, was that they're not getting the reward for posting on the feed. They're getting the reward for the other person recognizing that their contribution was valuable, right? Like, so it's not, you don't get the 5 points for just posting the message. You get 5 points for someone going, yeah, I found that helpful.
Correct, absolutely. And look, you could do that with AI nowadays, right? Because it's so smart. If the AI knows what the kind of contributions are. But it's the fact that they've seen that their contribution is meaningful in that respect. To another person is great, but if it fits within a rubric as well, fine as well. Either way, it works fine.
Yeah, interesting. I want to take a step back to simulations. You mentioned them before because I feel like that's your jam. You love simulations. You know how to pack gamification into them. So like let's step through this, like a concrete example. What kind of simulation? How do you incorporate gamification elements into it, and why is it effective?
Yeah, I think the part about rewards is a real key part there, and there's lots of elements to that. But the thing about a reward is that it needs to be variable, so you don't know that you're going to get the reward after doing something. So a variable reward to begin with is something that is a really effective way of using these kinds of mechanisms. For those people who have kids, a variable reward for a kid is when they get something like a Kinder Surprise. I don't even know if they have those anymore.
But they always have a prize in them, but you don't know what kind of prize.
You don't know what prize it is.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're getting something that is a package and you're getting it and it's in anticipation of that, you don't know what it's going to be, and then you get it and you see it and it kind of loses its impact. But it's the variability of it that's really important. My daughter had a birthday recently, and there's this place called Pop Mart now. I didn't know it existed, but I took her to Pop Mart, and she went and bought this present. There's this box, but it's like
she didn't know what she was buying.
She didn't know what she was buying, but it was a certain thing from Pop Mart that all these kids want. So she gets the box. Then all it is really effectively it's an expensive big Kinder Surprise. She opens it. She doesn't know which little toy it is.
Yeah.
She's so excited. I've never seen her so excited in her life to go to Pop Mart.
Yeah.
She gets the thing in the car on the way home. The thing's just on the floor.
She didn't get the one she wanted.
She didn't care.
But that's trading cards as well, right? Trading cards is the same thing. You don't know what's in the little deck until you open it up.
That's right. So variability in rewards is really key, and it's variability in training as well. It's like, so when you're doing a simulation, when we're simulating processes, and process training is not exciting, not really. It's actually pretty boring. What we do on computers, what we're teaching often people is software processes.
Click through certain screens. You need to do this, then this, then this.
That's right.
Yeah.
It isn't very exciting, really. Some people might find it rewarding to get through it because it's in relation to their job. And in order to do their job, they need to understand this, which is there's a reward in that. But back to our further point earlier, when you've got 15,000 people that you want to go through this, you've got a change coming up that you have no choice. They have to have this change implemented. Otherwise, the whole organisation is going to be at risk because the workforce doesn't know how to do something.
This is a new system's coming in. It's critical to some business function.
Yep.
They need to understand this process, and they need to be efficient at it. Otherwise, there's going to be real tangible.
That's right.
Yeah.
There's no choice but to have it. So there's a real directive and a real drive that you have to have this change implemented. So when you've got that kind of directive, then you need a mechanism that's going to ensure that your whole workforce is engaged and is learning and is getting up to speed really quickly, which is why you use the combination of simulation training with these rewards and the kinds of simulation and the kind of gamification where it's like, well, go through this process. You go through the process. You don't know how you've gone. We're going to rate you. We're going to give you a scale that you can see how you've gone. And then it's the original way that I come up with the idea was because at one point in my life I was crazy addicted to Angry Birds. Gamification. But Angry Birds is the best example of it because we don't necessarily, in real life, we're not flinging birds at piggies.
You're not getting really good at throwing birds.
No, and there's no real life element of that.
Yep.
But it was fun. But what it did do is every time you went it, you
got better.
You didn't know for a start how you were going to go, so there was variability in it. Then you got a score coming back to you. You got feedback, immediate feedback, 1, 2, 3 stars. And what you could do, you could go through the whole level and get 1 star, but it wouldn't let you go any further unless you went back and you got 3 stars or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
you had a barrier to pass to continue on.
There's a challenge. So that was effectively the same kind of principle to simulation training. It's like you can go through a level, you can go through something. If you've taken 5 minutes and you've made 100 mistakes, you'll still get through, but you'll get 1 star.
Yeah.
Now, this is motivation factor, right? This is what we're talking about. People see that and they go, oh, I want to go back and get 3 stars. So there's that self-motivation to begin with. They're saying, I want to improve. I want to improve because maybe it's because of my job. I want to improve because I'm determined to improve. But
show off to the person next to you.
Show off to the person next to you. But what if they're also going, I want to improve because there's a thing there telling me I'm only 1 star. I want to get 2 stars. I want to get 3 stars. And
well, I think what you do really, I was just going to jump in there. I think to make this really concrete on the simulations, what you do is you are giving them different points based on how quickly they go through the process, and then you deduct points when they make mistakes to prevent people just like trying to go through as quickly as possible. And that's like that variability in the score that you get seems like that's what makes gamification really effective, right?
Correct. It's variability is key because if everybody went through and they all got the same score, so it works in 2 ways. It's the variability we were talking about earlier where there's uncertainty of what's going to happen, which makes it interesting and engaging. But then there's variability is that you're not the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
So one of the other elements that works, sometimes it works, some organisations don't like it, some do, where there's a leaderboard. But if you've got a leaderboard and there's 200 people up the top on the same score,
there's no point,
it just loses its effectiveness and its impact straight away. But if you've got a meaningful scoring metric, and meaningful meaning that it's reflective of how they participated in the game, and therefore that then is reflective of how they are possibly going to perform using the new thing that they're learning, whatever it might be, that's the most effective way to do it.
And I think this is like the key also is like that alignment of they're motivated to go through and do it again and get better, to get faster, to get more accurate. And they're going through the literal steps that they need to do on the job. So they're actually making themselves better at the job without realizing it. They just have that motivation to outdo someone on the scoreboard has perfect alignment with what they need to do when they do that process in the real world.
Absolutely right. Like that's the alignment to learning objectives, right?
Yeah.
So as much as I love bringing the gamification element of it, what we love more is hearing stories about people who have gone in and had 20 attempts at a certain level because they wanted to get higher, whether they wanted to get higher to beat themselves or they wanted to get higher to get on the leaderboard, whatever it was, it doesn't matter. The fact is they did it 20 times. But then, lo and behold, they started their job and they were just like, oh, no, I know how to do this.
Yeah, right.
Or,
Okay.
or
There's too much of a disconnect, right?
they just like, oh,
Yeah.
I've got this, I've just learnt this so well. Or they show up, often these things are done with a blended training approach. So the gamification, the simulation is part of the delivery mechanism of online training.
Yeah.
And then they have face-to-face training they go to just before they go live, which is a common way of doing it. Now, what we'd love to hear are people showing up to the face-to-face training and just being going, yeah, no, I've got this. Yeah, I'm right. I did the e-learning. I did the game, and I did it 20 times or whatever it might be. Or,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be 20. If they've done it 2 or 3 times, brilliant.
Yeah.
Because that means they've repeated it, they've committed it to memory, and they're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to touch on there, like you've mentioned 20 times, it's like at what point you hit diminishing rewards and now people are just wasting their time going through learning when they've already got the process down pat.
Yeah.
Like, do we have to worry about that?
I think commonly what organisations will call that would be a good problem if people are wanting to do training. I think it can be an issue when there are regulatory issues and people are expecting to be paid outside of their work hours, those types of stuff. So there needs to be, I think there does need to be some guide rails around it sometimes, because if we certainly know with organisational training and with compliance, people can't be expected to be training outside of their paid work hours. Mm-hmm. So that is probably the main consideration with that. If it's not a thing, if you're encouraging people just to do it when they can, then great. If they want to do it, we have so many distractions in our world nowadays. I consider if you're doing something that is actually educational, that's a benefit.
Yeah, that's a fair call. I want to look at other types of gamification, because what you're talking about there with the simulations is the scoring and points and I guess leaderboards as well. And there are ways the leaderboards work and leaderboards don't. But what else have we got there? Like badges, you mentioned it earlier. Mm-hmm. Do you find badges effective? I feel like personally, maybe this is just me not being into them, is like badges seem a little bit superficial.
They can be. It depends on the audience again, and it depends on what you're doing with your program and your learning outcomes. And also, I think that the most effective use of badges, I feel they carry a little bit of weight. Mm-hmm. So when there's a credential or certification attached to them, that has some meaning, that a person is able to demonstrate that as something that in their work or in their career, that is something that has meaning to it.
Right.
That can be more effective. But it just really depends on what the program is and what the audience is. So it's not one size fits all with gamification at all. The different styles you use need to match the different programs you're trying to do. I think badges are a really good way of giving people recognition, and people do crave recognition. So there will be times where if you've got a program with 1,000 people doing it, you might find that 500 people in that thing really care about the badges and are proud of achieving it. The other 500 don't care as much, but they might be getting satisfaction from some other way in the program as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess you got to pick and choose the elements.
Yeah. Like I think about non-learning badges, and some of the things I go through in business, like things like LinkedIn did them for a while, and like we were talking about Reddit just before. Reddit has a whole range of kinds of badges that you can get. You don't even realise you're doing it. It's giving you badges in the end. So you get a little bit of a kick out of that. You go, oh, that's great, but it's not a huge motivator.
I don't know, like the fact that you don't know what you need to do to get the badge almost seems to me just like, why is it even there? Like, or maybe it is like the fact that you get a surprise by I've earned a reward without realising it. But to me, I was just like, okay, cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think that that method in learning, it probably contravenes a couple of really key principles of instructional design, where you need to make it very crystal clear to the learner what's required and what they're going to be doing. Yeah. So if there's random badges, then it probably does contravene some of that in some respect, but then it does depend on the style you're delivering. If you've got the type of learning program where you're encouraging the learner to motivate themselves to go and explore more and find more opportunities, then that would be a really good use of saying, well, you're an explorer.
Yeah.
So that kind of thing. But if it's a shorter thing that they don't, like, you just need to be crystal clear. No doubt.
I think I'm probably just thinking of like the ones where you like earn like just earn stacks of badges, and it's just like, oh, you've got like 50 of this badge, 20 of this badge, and it's just like they've kind of lost their meaning at that point, right?
Yeah.
But I understand there are also those completionist types who they want to like do everything and accrue everything, and for them that's a real motivator.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I don't know, I prefer the simulation style gamification, no doubt. In terms of effectiveness and seeing the results from it, I would say definitely that style is the most effective.
Yeah.
No doubt. But there's definitely a place. And I think that it'd be really interesting, and I don't know if we've had a chance to do it as yet, but I'll really be interested to see what a program that encourages people to just go in and self-learn, self-driven learning, that does provide a badge and some form of motivation that way, versus just going into a knowledge library or whatever.
I could see it working
I'd be interested to see which one works better.
Yeah, I could see it working with self-paced learning, because then you get a bit of like social status symbol, right? It's like I've intentionally decided to make myself an expert in some subject matter, and I've got the badges and that, and it's like, yeah, now I've got like authority. So that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I think that being aligned with some kind of kudos that they're going to be recognised for. Again, it's a variability. If everybody can just get the same badge,
what's the point?
There's not a lot of point in that. Yeah.
Are there other styles of gamification we haven't touched on? These are talked about the main ones, points and badges.
Yeah, like I think social is something that we kind of touched on it, but I feel like when it's done well, social is a really effective way of using these kind of methods in learning as well. So when exploring social learning and incorporating social as part of a gamified program, I feel like it's really important to use it as a key part of the learning design. So we've kind of seen examples of all kinds of programs using social, and like you said, the ones where you kind of just people can make a comment or they can add to something through a social comment, found is less effective. But when you incorporate that and make it almost as part of a key part of the learning outcome, like share your knowledge on this certain topic, and that is the activity, and then others can then read your suggestion, and then they can also do the elements such as liking it and commenting on it, those types of things, and that's then giving you recognition. I think that's a really effective way of doing it as well.
You kind of layer on these two different concepts and they reinforce each other.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Absolutely. But other forms, have you seen other forms that you?
I mean, I'm not the expert here. I'm just a curious onlooker. But I wanted to talk about a couple of real world examples where probably like the audience has probably heard of. Duolingo famously incorporates gamification into their learning. They use streaks really effectively, so that's probably one we didn't really talk about much. They're trying to get people to come in, day out. They also use points and leaderboards, or they use leaderboards in a different kind of way to how you might normally use them.
Yes.
And they also use badges, but I don't think they use badges as effectively. I mean, this is still me being anti-badge. Sorry.
It's okay.
But I think the streaks is really their key differentiator. There is they want you coming in, doing a piece of learning every day. Doesn't matter how much, just a tiny bit, and get you coming back. And I think that's been the big uplift for a learning app. Like what other learning apps are really that popular?
No doubt, and I think that their design is really clever too. The way that they, like my son does Duolingo for school, and his AI bot, he's got this really complicated relationship with the AI bot. Like it's almost like they're really clingy.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you didn't log in yesterday, and they're cross with him kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
personality on it,
personality on it. So yeah, no, they do a really good job of it. I agree. And the streaks is a good one. Like we didn't talk about that. I don't know if it's as relevant for learning because.
Well, I mean, it's probably not relevant within a program. It's probably relevant for more like lifelong learning.
Yeah.
So you're always like, we want you coming back, and maybe every day, like for in organizational, like we're very much like organizational learning department. you probably don't want people coming back every single day, but it could be every week. Have a week by week streak, something like that. It's just like, okay, I learn a new piece of knowledge every week, like whatever works, whatever cadence works for the individual.
100%. And thinking about it, like if you could have something that is different to giving somebody a multiple choice quiz.
Yeah.
You had them have like a speed round where they've got all these questions in, and it's like you get a streak if you're getting these questions right in a row or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just a different way of thinking about how you can give training to people. Some of these gamification elements can be really, really effective too. So I like that. It's good.
Yeah. And then I think like the interesting thing with Duolingo is like their concept of the streak freeze as well. So they did this research and they found out you can build up this really long streak. You can be learning on Duo for say like 250 days. You might miss a day because you're sick or whatever. It's like, I just can't do Duo today. You lose your whole streak. You're back to square one. Now all of a sudden your motivation has gone to zero. So this is like, it's like we've used gamification effectively up until a point, and now it's had the opposite effect because you have that demotivation of having to reset. So what they did is they introduced the streak freeze, which is like, oh, you missed a day? All good. We'll freeze you. Like, we'll give you a free pass for the next day. And they did that like, and that worked a little bit. And then they found if people missed 2 days, same thing would happen. So they gave you 2 streak freezes. Like you can miss 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
And then if you do the 3rd day, like you're back on it.
Yeah.
And they're like, that was the key amount. If you did 3 days, then people just didn't take it seriously.
People just dropped off, yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, okay. So the optimum gamified experience in terms of streaks is just like, yeah, give them 2 free passes a week, but then like the 3rd time though, you've lost it.
Yeah, interesting. It can be definitely demotivating if you've broken your streak. So
yeah,
clever. They've thought about it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
they really thought about it. Yeah.
They got the data and metrics to back it up.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about their approach to leaderboards because leaderboards is such an interesting one. Some people, you mentioned it before, some people love it, some people hate it.
Yeah.
From a large organization, it's kind of weird, right? Because like, imagine you have a single leaderboard for your 10,000 employees, and if you're not ranking high, that's demotivating. It's like, oh, I'm like number 9,000 on the leaderboard. Like, I'll never get up there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Duolingo takes an interesting approach because they break it into leagues, and so you'll be like at a position relative to everyone else on your level.
Yeah.
They got like the Ruby League, the Silver League, the Gold League, whatever. And the best of the best are ranked against each other, and the low ones are ranked against each other. That's a good way to breaking it apart. I've seen other organizations do it by region, so you might like be ranked against your state or like locality.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any thoughts on that? Like,
yeah, 100%. Like, I agree that if you're not appearing in the top of ranks of the leaderboard, then it can be demotivating. And in some cases, it's more than demotivating. It's like devastating for people. So definitely the approach is to call out, celebrate the high performers and leave it at the top 20 and don't go any longer than that. So if you've got somebody on 9,000, then you're not doing leaderboards properly. Like the whole point of a leaderboard is to show what good looks like, call out good performers, but then it's also, it can be used sort of kind of like we were talking about regional, but if you're grouping people together. So a really good use of leaderboards is, particularly if you're working in retail or places that have areas and groups together. So have a locational leaderboard. So it's location versus location.
Yeah.
So it's the team contributing together, and the entire contribution together is the thing that is ranked.
Oh, right. Okay. Right. Because I said before, like locality, thinking that like you're ranked against people within your team, but you're saying you're ranking the team as a whole against another team.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because often it's the manager of the location that is quite competitive and cares and have their peers, and probably, back to our point earlier, probably are a little bit more robust and would be able to cop that if they're not in the top 10 kind of thing.
Yeah.
But they want to be able to drive to be able to get there. So, and it's also a really good motivating factor, because one of the proven things that we know about organisational training is if the manager isn't engaged, then they're not going to get the learners engaged either.
Yeah.
Because they're just not going to care. So
slow down.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if the manager is there being involved, saying, yeah, we're store number 487, we've got to beat that 400 store number 320, and then they're encouraging the team members to participate, that's a really effective way of doing it. And it doesn't call out any poor performers like individually, but it may often it might actually reflect somebody who's a poor performer in the store that the person knows about anyway. So they're like, well, they're having a closer relationship with that.
I think like the key thing there is like, just to reiterate, this relies on you having a really good scoring mechanism, like a simulation or some kind of gamified module with that variability. Again, if it's just a multi-choice quiz where everyone's getting 100 points, you're just not going to have a good leaderboard.
No, you're not going to have a good leaderboard, and it doesn't reflect accurate reflection of how people are performing. The best way to do it is if you've got accurate ways of reflecting how people are performing. So it takes a bit of thought.
I want to talk about another example, and this is not from the learning industry. So this is from the tech industry. People will be aware of Stack Overflow. Do you know
Can't
Stack
believe
Overflow?
that you're using a tech example.
It's an interesting example because they use gamification, and it's a Q&A site for coding problems. So they also have the concept of points. They call it reputation. But I think it's a really interesting example to look at because they don't use it the same way you would normally use gamification in terms of leaderboards and ranking people against each other. I mean, you can find that stuff on Stack Overflow, but the emphasis isn't there. It's hard to find a leaderboard against your peers. The reputation is more about social status. And so one looks at your profile, they see what your reputation is, and it says like, hey, within this industry, like I have this level of knowledge and ability and skills. And I think what's also really interesting about how Stack Overflow do it is, and let me just take a step back and say that like how it works is when you answer a question correctly, you earn reputation. If you post a message, you earn some smaller reputation. If you upvote something, if you comment on something, you earn reputation for all these different things. But the interesting mechanic is that it unlocks abilities as you progress. So when you start on the site, the only thing you can do is ask a question or answer a question. You can't do anything else. As soon as you earn a little bit of reputation, it unlocks the ability to comment on things. And as you earn more, you start to earn more abilities. You can moderate things. You can vote on things. You can review queues. It gives you more powers. Have you ever seen that done in L&D, something like that?
I think I've tried to do it.
Okay.
I think we've even talked about the ability to do it. I think that there are elements within organisational learning that people would probably balk at that and just say, well, that's probably going a bit too far. Because I don't think that they want to put barriers in front of people in terms of their being able to progress. So I think that there's the first part you mentioned where people are getting called out for doing valuable contributions is 100%
Social status.
That definitely would be done, and we're definitely already doing it. And I love it, and I think it's a really good use of the technology. The other parts of the restricted access, I also think that maybe just the learning technology doesn't support that.
What are you going to get? Like, you've got learners working in an organisation. What kind of abilities are you going to give them?
Yeah, that's right. Well,
Fair.
it's even that. It's like, well, how are you going to well, I mean, are you going to embed that within a SCORM course, or are you going to how are you going to...
Don't get me started.
How are you going to do that? So, look, I think that there's a lot to that, and I would probably, if I was talking to an organisation who had some real outcomes that would be gained by implementing that type of thing, then obviously you find a way to do it. But
it needs to be a natural fit.
It needs to be a natural fit. It needs to align with the outcomes. I think it's a good idea. I absolutely would like to see it being utilised. And I know that we definitely have the conversation. I thought that was my idea actually, but clearly not.
I remember we talked about it a few years ago. We're like, we should build the platform out to be like, you unlock abilities as you learn more.
Yeah, I think the most locking that people like to do in learning and development is preventing them from accessing the next level
until they've learned the prior knowledge.
Until they've demonstrated a level of prior knowledge. I think that's as far as people will go. because you definitely with learners don't want to discourage them or it's almost like that bit before where you're saying they're earning badges and they don't even realise it. It's like you want to have a bit more clarity.
Yeah.
And a very clear path and a very clear way that they understand that they know how to do it. So if that's clear to them and that's like, well, here's the thing that you've just done. If you want the ability to be able to, I don't know, what would be the skill? What would be the thing that they would be able to do next? That would be the key.
Yeah, I think it needs to be like mentorship or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's that. I think when you're probably going, I was probably going a layer too low, talking about it from a scorn course perspective. You've got to be looking at it from an academies or a programs perspective where there are those hierarchies of mentor and mentee and relationship things and things that you can demonstrate that would differentiate you between some other kind of senior leader.
yeah.
Then I think that probably would be a really good use of it. But it depends on organisations' appetite for it as well.
The other thing I wanted to bring up from Stack Overflow is they also use badges extensively. And this is maybe where I have my head. It's just like, oh, I'm just earning badges. I don't know why. They have the top level badge. It's called the legendary badge. You earn it if you contribute a certain amount, or you earn a certain amount of reputation points.
Nice.
Within a week for like 150 weeks.
Yep.
Like this is like the top level. And so there's been research into this. Like some guys have done some extensive research on the Stack Overflow gamification, and we'll put a link to this in our show notes. They found that like once you earn that legendary badge, your like contributions went down.
Oh,
it's
really?
like you've hit the peak.
You've
got nothing left to achieve.
Reached the pinnacle. That's it. You're done. You're done. So what would be the advice there? You'd say, don't
have
no
a
limits.
cap.
No limits. No
Have
limits.
an unattainable top.
Have an unattainable top. Well, I mean, that's to the point before. It's about variability, right? So if the pinnacle is you get 10 out of 10 or 100 out of 100, you reach that. And it's So that's where when you don't, sometimes that variability does come into it, where you're just like, well, if you do reach that point where you've achieved everything you could possibly achieve. Now, again, in learning, it's a bit different because we have to keep it clear and achievable. But maybe it isn't the best thing to do to.
Although maybe I just realized this now. It's like I asked earlier. It's just like at what point are they just like investing too much time in their learning? Maybe having that natural ceiling is a good thing to be like, okay, yeah, you've got this.
Correct.
stop
true.
wasting your time
That's
on
so
learning.
true.
Just do your job.
After completing the compliance module for 10 hours, you got this. You're going to be compliant.
Yeah.
It's fine. Yeah.
And then the other thing on Stack Overflow, just to riff on them one last time, is they have people gaming the system.
Yeah.
So they have people establishing these voting rings, and what they do is they just they vote for each other and they just give each other points or reputation.
Yeah.
And so this is something you got to look out for as well, right?
100%. Now, this is one of the things that often when I go in to talk to organisations about doing gamification, there's a lot of very clever people out there who've got a lot of experience and they've been in a lot of organisations. And as much as we like to think that we're original thinkers and we've got some really great ideas, we're not the only people in the world doing this. There's lots of gamification out there in the world. But the things that people call out as they don't want to see happen again is when there has been a reward for doing something and associated with that reward is a tangible thing. So cashing in your rewards for vouchers or money or whatever
prizes
it is. Because as soon as that's there, then there's the people that always wear the rings.
Yeah.
There's people out there hacking it and figuring it out and finding out ways that they're going to just rack up the points for not achieving any learning outcomes. It's just them figuring out how to get the points for whatever reason.
Want that reward.
Because they want the reward, yeah.
And this is intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, right? Like they've got an external factor that they're only doing because of that. And I think there's actually studies on this where it's just like if your extrinsic reward is too high, it actually removes the intrinsic motivation. So you actually don't care about the material anymore. Just focused on the prize, the outcome.
Correct. Yeah. And you would have figured out how to get around any of the things that are teaching you anything. Yeah. You're just zeroing in on the thing that's giving you that reward. That's the biggest one that I hear when I get pushed back about gamification. It's that part, and it's also calling out people who would feel bad about not showing up on the leaderboard and making people feel badly, which I'm a big one for that. I completely agree with that. So it's about calling out the people who do really, really well, pushing them up and showing what good looks like, and not then making people feel poorly if they're not showing up on the leaderboard.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I think just to kind of round things out, just to summarize what we're covering here is, if you want to do gamification well, align your gamification with the learning outcomes. That's the absolute number one best thing you can do. Make sure that you're rewarding people for demonstrating the exact behaviors that you want to be improving.
Correct.
Be wary of making people feel bad about not doing well.
Yes.
Lift people up, but don't push people down.
Correct.
Maybe like variability extremely important.
Really important. Yep.
Variability in your rewards. Is there anything else? Have I missed anything there?
In terms of what we're looking for in terms of gamification.
Good, what you want to focus on if you want to do good gamification.
There's one more thing, and I think that
social.
I'll give you a clue what I'm about to say, and think about the name of this podcast.
Impact.
So the ability to be able to demonstrate what if you're actually achieving these things that you're kind of trying to do. So if you've got a really clever method of gamification, but then your outcomes and your reports don't reflect those, then it's sort of like you're just people taking your word for it, as opposed to having these metrics that are actually showing back to the organisation. You set out to have people achieve this, right? So if it's the ability to be able to operate, say, let's just call it a new system on day one. So the analytics of your game should actually show how tangibly people have gotten better at using your system.
Yeah, right.
If you don't have that, then you're just sort of giving them a report saying, a person went through the game. That isn't very much different to showing a person went through a SCORM compliance module. Yeah. It's just a complete. So I would say my last point would be, if you're doing it, have the metrics reflecting their ability to be able to achieve these things in a report or a dashboard or something like that. Visibility, alignment. So you've got your learning outcomes, you've got your game mechanics that are reflecting back on the learning outcomes. And at the end of it all, you've got reports that are showing this is actually what's happened. Yeah. Because that's it. That's then a demonstration of impact, which is incredibly powerful.
3 easy steps.
Easy as.
Right.
It'll take you 6 to 12 months to build it.
But the impact will be huge. So it's well worth it.
It's well worth it, because when we know about what we know about impact is that it's about that being a tangible benefit to the business. Yeah. So if your reports are saying, here's my workforce, here's 1,000 people who went through this training. These people have all demonstrated their ability to be able to do this new process. Fantastic, brilliant. Because then you're so sure that they can sit out there in the workforce and do it. Then you back that up with actual performance metrics that they can do. Yeah, very powerful.
Sounds really good. Is there any last comments or thoughts you want to leave us with?
No, I'm no longer addicted to Angry Birds. I've got past that. I'm currently not playing any games at all, so that's why I'm able to focus on my games I build for work.
Take inspiration, but don't let it take away from your ability to be productive.
No, exactly right.
Well, this has been Impact Champions. Thanks for joining us. If you like gamification, we're going to gamify this video.
Gamify?
We're going to gamify this video. The more minutes you watch, the more points you earn. I don't know how we're going to do that from a technical perspective. Naranjan will figure it out. Like, share, subscribe, follow us. This has been Impact Champions.